What's up everyone, and welcome back to the MMA Official News. Today we're diving into what's next for Petr Yan following his impressive victory at UFC 323. The event delivered one of the most anticipated rematches in recent memory as Petr Yan and Merab Dvalishvili met inside the octagon once again. Many fans already caught our full recap of the night, so we'll skip the lengthy breakdown and get straight to the key points. Petr Yan delivered a performance that reminded the MMA community why he has long been considered one of the most technically refined fighters in the bantamweight division. From the opening moments, Yan displayed exceptional composure, sharp footwork, and precise timing. His ability to defend Merab's relentless takedown attempts stood out as one of the major factors of the fight. Every time Merab looked to force the grappling exchanges, Yan met him with strong hips, well-timed sprawls, and clean separation. Yan's striking also played a crucial role. He targeted the body early and often, landing punishing shots that visibly affected Merab's pace. These body attacks created openings for Yan to control the tempo and dictate the distance of the fight. It was clear that Yan came into the rematch fully prepared, disciplined, and determined to make a statement. As for Merab, his effort should not be overlooked. He has been one of the most active and hard-working champions in recent UFC history, and even in defeat, he showed tremendous heart. During his post-fight interview, Merab explained that he wanted to avoid making the fight boring, so he chose to engage Yan in a more striking-focused battle. He also expressed his desire for another rematch, emphasizing his respect for Yan and his belief that their rivalry is far from finished. Now, the big question is what comes next for Petr Yan. With such a strong performance, he has firmly reinserted himself into the title picture. A fight against another top contender, or even a direct path to the belt, seems more than possible depending on how the division unfolds. What's certain is that this win has reignited Yan's momentum and reminded everyone that he remains one of the most dangerous fighters at 135 pounds. Petr Yan spoke candidly about the possibility of completing a trilogy with Merab Dvalishvili following their rematch at UFC 323. During the post-fight media session, Yan was asked whether he would entertain a third fight, and he used the moment to make a light-hearted reference to the press conference incident that had drawn attention earlier in the week. With a smirk, Yan remarked that Merab should gather his teammates, relax in the jacuzzi, and think carefully about what comes next, suggesting that the Georgian contender might need to reset before pushing for another meeting inside the octagon. Despite the humour, Yan remained focused and composed when discussing his own future in the bantamweight division. When asked about his next steps and whether he already had a specific opponent in mind, Yan emphasised that his journey back to the top has taken far longer than it should have. He explained that reclaiming his position among the elite required patience, discipline, and a willingness to fight through setbacks. Now that he has decisively regained momentum, Yan made it clear that he intends to move forward with purpose. Yan stated that he is ready for a title defence and that he does not care who the UFC places in front of him. His priority is to secure what he believes is rightfully his and to defend it against any challenger who steps forward. Although he did not rule out the possibility of a trilogy with Merab, Yan made it clear that his focus is not on revisiting past rivalries, but on solidifying his place as the division's true champion. His comments reflected both confidence and determination as he looks ahead to the next chapter in his career. Dana White addressed the media at the post-fight press conference and revealed troubling news regarding Alexandre Pantoja's condition. According to the UFC president, Pantoja suffered a significant shoulder injury during his fight, and initial reports confirmed that the shoulder had fully dislocated. White explained that the medical team managed to pop the shoulder back into place backstage immediately after the bout, but emphasised that this type of injury often requires an extensive recovery period. He clarified that while he initially believed it might have been an elbow issue, the doctors confirmed it was indeed the shoulder, and more detailed assessments were already underway. White stated that Pantoja would need to undergo additional medical imaging, including MRIs, to determine the extent of the ligament damage. He noted that ligament injuries tend to be more complicated and time-consuming to heal than traditional bone fractures. Because of this, he expressed serious doubt that Pantoja would be returning to competition anytime soon. White added that while he is not a doctor, the nature of the injury and the necessary rehabilitation make it highly unlikely that Pantoja will be ready for action in the near future. As a result, he believes that Joshua Van will likely have to defend the championship before Pantoja is able to make his comeback. The UFC president also pointed out that the recovery process for a shoulder dislocation, especially one involving ligament damage, extends far beyond simply reducing the joint and waiting for pain to subside. Fighters must regain full mobility, stability, and functional strength before they can return to striking, grappling, and absorbing impact. White noted that these stages often take months, and pushing too quickly can create long-term complications. For that reason, the organisation is preparing for the possibility that Pantoja will be sidelined longer than initially anticipated. Shortly after White's comments, a medical professional on Twitter added further insight. The doctor suggested that Pantoja may have suffered a supracondylar humerus fracture, an injury that can occur from an indirect mechanism, such as falling with the elbow extended. He explained that the force from such an impact transfers through the hand into the carpal bones and ultimately into the distal humerus, creating a risk of fracture. This analysis, while unofficial, underscores the potential seriousness of the situation and suggests the champion could be facing a far more complex recovery than previously expected. Merab Dvalishvili released his first public statement following his loss, addressing fans directly through social media only a short time after the fight concluded. In his message, Merab expressed humility, gratitude, and determination as he reflected on the outcome. He acknowledged that the night did not go the way he had hoped, but emphasised that setbacks are part of the sport and vowed to return stronger than before. He thanked his supporters for standing by him throughout the build-up to the bout and in the immediate aftermath, noting that the overwhelming encouragement means a great deal during challenging moments in his career. Merab also shared a brief update on his condition and current surroundings. He revealed that he was at the hospital alongside his close friend and long-time training partner Aljamain Sterling, who has been a constant presence in his corner throughout his rise in the bantamweight division. Merab highlighted the loyalty and support of his team, explaining that Sterling's presence brought him comfort as he underwent medical evaluations following the fight. He added that another teammate was nearby, unwinding with a bottle of Funk Harbour rum, keeping spirits high despite the difficult result. In addition to receiving support from his teammates, Merab mentioned that he was on the phone with his mother, who checked in on him as soon as she heard about the outcome. Her call served as an emotional reminder of the people who stand behind him beyond the world of competition. Merab's message made it clear that, although the loss was disappointing, he remains grounded, motivated, and surrounded by a strong circle of loved ones and training partners. His statement reassured fans that he intends to heal, regroup, and come back with renewed focus. Merab closed by expressing appreciation once again for the unwavering support and promised that he will rise to the occasion the next time he steps into the octagon. Arman Tsarukyan has fired back strongly at recent comments made by Paddy Pimblett, responding to what many viewed as an unprovoked verbal attack. The tension began during the UFC's seasonal press conference for the upcoming 2026 events. With UFC 324 approaching, Paddy Pimblett made several media appearances, including an interview with Full Send MMA. During that interview, Paddy took direct aim at Arman Tsarukyan, criticising his resume, his past performances, and even questioning the legitimacy of his win over Charles Oliveira. Paddy mocked the level of competition Arman has faced and went as far as calling him a liability who repeatedly jeopardises UFC main events. He referenced the rescheduled Islam Makhachev fight and accused Arman of nearly derailing UFC Qatar after headbutting Dan Hooker during the weigh-ins. Pimblet continued by criticising Arman's conduct outside the cage, alleging that Tsarukyan once punched a fan on his walk to the octagon and caused complications for the promotion. He even suggested that Arman exaggerated an injury during his title opportunity, claiming he pulled out due to weight issues rather than legitimate back pain. Paddy finished by questioning Tsarukyan's grappling abilities and mocking his guillotine defence, stating that if Dan Hooker could threaten him, then anyone could. It didn't take long for Arman to respond. Shortly after the interview began circulating online, Tsarukyan took to social media to fire back. In a sharp and direct statement posted on X, he accused Paddy of receiving favourable matchmaking and avoiding real contenders. Arman wrote that while he could point out that Paddy fights aging opponents and rarely competes, he preferred to keep his message simple. If Paddy ever finds the courage to face him in the octagon, there would be only one outcome. Tsarukyan warned that Paddy would be exposed as a fraud and that the world would finally see the difference between hype and true elite skill. Arman ended his statement by saying that when the cage door closes, he will have his hand raised while Paddy will need help leaving the arena. Interestingly, Paddy's tone shifted when discussing his upcoming fight with Justin Gaethje. During the press conference, he emphasised that he has no intention of disrespecting Gaethje, calling him a legend and one of the most exciting fighters in UFC history. Paddy said he expects a war and hopes their matchup delivers both a performance of the night and fight of the night bonus. Fans are now buzzing about both potential matchups, especially the rising tension between Tsarukyan and Pimblet. During the post-fight press conference, Dana White addressed the situation surrounding Arman Tsarukyan and the current landscape of the lightweight division. With several major matchups unfolding and title implications becoming more complicated, White was asked specifically about where Tsarukyan stands after recent events. Dana clarified that while some may view Arman as the odd man out, the reality is rooted in how his previous title opportunity played out. He emphasised that Tsarukyan had been given a major chance, and the aftermath of that opportunity now requires him to rebuild his momentum. White explained that rankings alone would not secure Arman another immediate title shot. According to him, too much time, preparation and investment go into championship fights for the promotion to overlook how an earlier opportunity ended. Although Dana did not criticise Arman directly, he made it clear that elite opportunities in the UFC must be earned through consistency, reliability and performance. He reiterated that regardless of where Tsarukyan is positioned numerically in the rankings, the path forward will require proving himself all over again. Dana recounted a conversation he had backstage prior to the press conference, mentioning that the UFC team reflected on the numerous challenges and unpredictable moments that have shaped the organisation over the past 2 decades. Even with all those experiences in mind, he stated that there are certain standards that cannot be compromised. When a fighter receives a title shot, the expectations are exceptionally high, and the manner in which that opportunity concludes matters greatly. For that reason, White stressed that Tsarukyan must work his way back toward contention rather than expect an immediate return to the title picture. White also addressed the broader lightweight landscape, noting that Ilia Topuria is expected to unify his title against the interim champion. That matchup will influence the division's timeline and further delay any shortcuts for contenders waiting on the sidelines. All of this reinforces Dana's position. Arman will need to fight, win decisively, and re-establish himself before being considered again for a championship bout. Overall, Dana's comments made one thing very clear. The UFC values opportunity, but it values accountability even more. Arman Tsarukyan remains a top-tier competitor, but to earn another crack at the belt, he will have to climb his way back up the ladder, just like every other fighter who has stumbled on the sport's biggest stage.